Hey man, what's up with y'all, man? We got another video. So this is basically James Pierce. I don't know what this is about, but it's a part two to this. This is part one. We just want to watch this.
James Pierce, talented. If you do not fix your character issues immediately, you will continue to jeopardize your life. One bad decision can alter the trajectory of your life forever.
James Pierce Jr. facing a long list of felony charges, including battery, domestic violence.
On Thursday,
Wait, what? WNBA?
Facing a long list of felony charges, including battery, domestic violence.
On Thursday night, February 5th, James Pierce Jr. was standing on stage at the NFL Honors in San Francisco. His mom, Kizzie Morris, was up there with him, and she told the entire world,
I am so proud of all that my son has accomplished, but I'm even prouder of the man that he has become. James has a heart of gold, deep love for family and friends, and a true resilience in the face of doubt. Junior man, you have so much success ahead of you. I love you, son.
48 hours later, James Pierce Jr. was in a jail cell, mugshot taken, red jumpsuit on, 5 felony charges staring him in the face. And the craziest part,
Crashed into a driven car. Wait, what?
taken, red jumpsuit on, 5 felony charges staring him in the face. And the craziest part, everything that people warned the NFL about before this man was even drafted, every single red flag that got dismissed, every character concern that got brushed to the side, it all just came crashing down on one fateful Saturday morning in Miami.
This is him, right?
The side, it all just came.
Yo, this is okay embarrassing, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. It's about 5 of y'all?
Crashing.
Oh, well, it's 2 females, so I don't count that. It's 3 of y'all, and y'all can't bring him down, bro?
Down on one fateful.
I mean, I understand he's NFL. It was like 4. I know he's an NFL player, bro, but
Full Saturday morning in Miami. Now, I want you to
like
stay with me on this one because this story has layers. We're talking about a dude who went from being a potential #1 overall pick to sliding down draft boards because teams didn't trust him off of the field, to having the Atlanta Falcons bet their entire future on him anyway, to putting up one of the best rookie seasons by a
an impressive mark that no rookie has reached.
Pass rusher in years, and then allegedly doing something so reckless, so out of control, that his career might be completely over before it ever
He said he crashed a vehicle and then multiple times and hit a police officer with the vehicle while driving away.
got started. And what makes this even wilder is who the victim is in all.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna say too much because I ain't trying to say too much.
All this. We're not just talking about some random person. We're talking about a WNBA superstar. This thing is messy from the top to the bottom. And this video might get demonetized. So if you could take a minute to leave a like so we could push this video in the algorithm anyway, I'd greatly appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe because if not, mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? To really understand how we got here, you got to go back to who James Pierce Jr. was before the NFL. Because the warning signs were there, but people just chose to ignore them. Pierce grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and played his high school ball at Julius L. Chambers High School. And this dude was a problem from day one. As a senior, he racked up 14.5 sacks and 2 interceptions, and helped lead his team to back-to-back North Carolina 4AA state championships. He was a 4-star prospect, and he committed to the University of Tennessee. Interestingly enough, this all happened without him even taking an official visit to Knoxville. He just signed early and showed up. Now, at Tennessee, Pierce didn't do much as a freshman. He played in all 13 games, but was mostly on special teams, logging just 61 defensive snaps and picking up 2 sacks. But in his sophomore year in 2023, that's when everything changed. Pierce led the entire SEC with 10 sacks and had 14 tackles for a loss across 13 games. He was an absolute terror off of the edge. He forced a strip sack on Alabama's Jalen Milroe, and in the Citrus Bowl against Iowa, he single-handedly swung the game with a sack fumble that set up a touchdown and a 52 interception return for a score. That one game alone had NFL scouts losing their minds. And going into his junior season in 2024, James Pierce was being talked about as a potential #1 overall pick. Some mock drafts had him as the top defensive prospect in the entire class. But then something shifted. His sack numbers actually dipped to 7.5, even though his pressure rate was still elite. He finished tied for 3rd in the FBS with 43 quarterback hurries and his 23% win rate ranked 7th in the nation according to PFF. The production was still there if you watched the tape, but behind the scenes, something else was happening. NFL teams started buzzing about what they called character concerns, and here's where it gets interesting, because nobody could really pinpoint what those concerns were. According to The Athletic, Pierce's concerns weren't related to a specific incident, but rather to on-field drive and attitude. Multiple scouts described him as someone who didn't interview well during pre-draft meetings. Teams questioned his maturity and described him as
we don't even talk about him. This is a D-line coach.
Someone who didn't interview well during pre-draft meetings. Teams questioned his maturity and coaching.
He's a first-round talent, but the stuff you hear, honestly, bro, and I told you this too. I feel like it's ego. But this is what comes with the coaches. When you allow a star player to get an ego, they like everybody want to take pictures with them. Everybody, feel me? Fan it out. It's like they get an ego. That's why like not all people can be popular, bro, in high school. Because in high school, like should imagine you a high schooler. You got people doing your homework for you. You can talk to any girl you want. Feel me? You got touchdown passes to your name, touchdown catches, getting game-winning touchdowns, all that. You know what I'm saying? Got mad views and likes on TikTok and YouTube and all that. You're going to have an ego too, bro. I mean, I wouldn't, but it really just comes out to ego, bro, what's around them. They feel like, okay, yeah, I'm better than everybody here. Especially if they have a losing team, they're going to think, okay, I'm the best on this team. I just not show up and we'll lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll have that type of mindset. So they'll feel like they can just do whatever they want. And the coach not going to say nothing because they the best player on the team. You know what I'm saying? And if the coach does, they can just go find another team to play on. Feel me?
A former high school teammate reportedly described his temperament as having anger issues and being a little crazy, which fueled even more concern among NFL evaluators. And these weren't just vague whispers. One director of player personnel for an AFC playoff team told Walter Football straight up that he's in danger of getting dropped off of our board. Granted, we are a strict team in terms of character, but we have a lot of concerns, and I think he probably isn't a fit for us. Multiple teams either downgraded Pierce on their draft boards or removed him completely. There was also a 2020 teams either character, but we have a lot of concerns.
Right there with player personnel.
And I think he probably isn't a fit for us. Multiple teams either downgraded Pierce on their draft boards or removed him completely. There was also a 2023 traffic stop in Knoxville where Pierce was cited for driving 63 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone with expired.
But I just feel like famous people could just get away with stuff like this so much easier, bro. And if they do go to jail, they got money to bond themselves out. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really don't even be mattering no more. Either get a pat on the back or just bail out.
Tire tags and a suspended license and no proof of insurance. The charges were eventually dropped, but that incident got added to the pile of red flags that scouts were already building. Now keep all of this in your head because what I'm about to tell you next is going to make everything hit completely different. But first, we got to talk about draft rolls around that didn't care about any of these characters. Hit completely different. But first, we got to talk about the team that didn't care about any of these character concerns. The 2025 NFL draft rolls around and the Atlanta Falcons are sitting there with the 15th overall pick. They used that pick to take Georgia edge rusher Jalen Walker. Incredible pick, but they weren't done. The Falcons were a team that have been absolutely starving for a pass rush. They weren't done. The Falcons were a team that have been absolutely starving for a pass rush. They literally had the fewest sacks in the NFL since 2018. So they decided they needed to go get another edge rusher. So they made a bold move. Atlanta traded their 2026 first round pick and their second round pick at number 46 and a 7th round pick to the LA Rams to move up and grab the 26th overall selection. And with that pick, they took James Pierce Jr. Now think about that for a second. This is a team that gave up next year's first rounder. And bear in mind, the Falcons weren't a definitive team that were going to make it to the Super Bowl. There was a good chance that they could be one of the worst teams in the NFL following the 2025 season. But they didn't care anyway. They traded that first rounder to go get a guy that half the league didn't even want on their board because of character concerns.
I mean, I honestly don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. But I just feel like if it was criminal stuff, then it's different. But if it was like everybody said, oh, he sucks, he shouldn't be on the team, whatever, or like they just wouldn't get him. I mean, shit, somebody gonna have to get him if he goes to the NFL. So And he was in the like the combine and all that stuff. So
Terry Fontenot was asked about the off-the-field stuff. He was confident. He said that the team was about as thorough and as detailed as you can possibly be in their research. Fontenot talked about how important it was to know who they were bringing into the building. He said, "We want to know who we're bringing in here, and so we spend as much time as we possibly can, not just with players, but people that surround them." Their head coach at the time, Raheem Morris, and Fontenot even made a special trip to visit Pierce and his mom the day before the draft. That was the final meeting that sealed the deal. Their defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, said that they had real inside information regarding his character and people that really had boots on the ground there at the school. And because of that, they felt confident that they were getting the right person, not just the right football player. Pierce himself addressed the critics at Tennessee's Pro Day, telling reporters, "I'm a great guy. I'm a great teammate. I'm a great player, and I'm a people person. I've got a good heart." His head coach, Josh Heupel, backed him up too, saying that Pierce had done a really good job developing as a man and as a person.
I mean, it was high school, bro.
And after one season of play, the Atlanta Falcons looked like geniuses. Because James Pierce Jr. didn't just contribute as a rookie, he was a force. He played in all 17 games, and from the jump, you could see why the Atlanta Falcons gave up all of that draft capital. In week 2 against the Minnesota, you could see why the Atlanta Falcons gave up all of that draft capital. In week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings, Pierce recorded his first career sack, taking down JJ McCarthy, and he just kept going from there. By the end of the season, Pierce had racked up 10.5 sacks. That's the most by any NFL rookie since Micah Parsons had 13 back in 2021. Think about that company for a second. Micah Parsons, the guy who's been one of the most dominant defenders in the league since he entered it. That's the last rookie who put up numbers like Pierce did. He also set the Atlanta Falcons rookie sack record, and his 2 sacks in the season finale against the Saints helped the defense set a new franchise record with 57 sacks on the season, breaking the previous mark of 55 from 1997. The Falcons pass rush went from being second to last in the league in 2024 with just 31 sacks to a franchise best 57. Pierce was the engine driving that turnaround. Alongside Jalen Walker, who is also a rookie, the Falcons had the most productive rookie pass rushing duo in the NFL. No team in the league had 2 rookies making the kind of combined impact that Walker and Pierce were making. They combined for 12.5 sacks from rookies alone, which was 6 more than the next closest team. Pierce earned NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month honors in December. He was arguably the Defensive Rookie of the Year in the eyes of many. He finished 3rd in AP voting behind Carson Schwessinger and Nick Emmanwori, but Falcons fans felt like he was snubbed. His head coach Raheem Morris said it best after the season finale. For James to come out here and get better and better throughout the course of the season, to finish with 10.5 sacks, arguably the Rookie of the Year, I can't say enough about him. Jesse Bates III put it even more directly. We took a chance with James. And that's the part that makes everything that happened next so devastating, because just 2 days after standing on stage at the NFL Honors as a Defensive Rookie of the Year finalist, 2 days after his mom told the world about his heart of gold.
I wonder if that him losing made him have this type of mindset.
James Pierce Jr. allegedly did something that could ruin everything. All right, now let's get into what actually went down on Saturday, February 7th in Doral, Florida. And I gotta warn you guys, the details about this story are very graphic, so consider this a trigger warning if anyone
y'all don't get scared, all right?
Is triggered by highly sensitive situations. The woman involved in all of this is Ricky Jackson, and she's not just some random person. Ricky Jackson was the number 4 overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft by the Los Angeles Sparks. She's already one of the best.
But they have a draft? I want to. Bro, that would be kind of hard.
WNBA, averaging 14.7 points per game in her second season in 2025. She's also playing in the unrivaled 3-on-3 basketball league during the offseason, which is why she was in Miami. And here's the connection. Both Pierce and Jackson attended the University of Tennessee at the same time from 2022 to 2024. She played for the Lady Vols basketball team while he was tearing it up on the football field. They were in a relationship for roughly 3 years. According to what Jackson told the police, the two had
I mean, I guess they be having, keep they so private. That's cool. I'm missing that. So police say recently broke up after 3 years, and she blocked his number to avoid contact, but used a separate number to,
recently broken up.
That's why you got to be, like I told y'all, especially, I mean, she was around him, if you think about it, because they went to the same school. So she probably would know if he had a bad character, and stuff like that, you know? But I don't know, man. I
She
feel like
blocked
if
Pierce's phone number so he couldn't contact
do
her
that.
anymore. But according to the police report, Pierce used an
do it.
alternate phone to keep texting her. On the Friday before the
That's
incident,
like, you
Jackson
just gotta change your
texted him
number.
to leave her alone and said she wanted nothing to do with him. That should have been the
Damn,
end of
look,
it,
you
but
must
it
have cheated.
wasn't. Saturday morning, Jackson was leaving an apartment complex when
What's up,
she
bro?
noticed Pierce's Lamborghini SUV following her. She's driving along, stops at a red light, and according to the police report, Pierce allegedly got out of his car and tried to open her door. Now think about that for a second, guys.
What?
You're a woman sitting at a red light, and this man that you just broke up with pulls
Hey, you
up
gotta keep your
behind you,
awareness
gets
up,
out of
bro.
his vehicle, and tries to break into your car. That alone is
gotta run the
terrifying.
red light. I ain't
Jackson
gonna lie,
did
that-
what any smart person would do. She drove toward the Doral City Police Department. She's trying to get to safety, but Pierce wasn't backing off. He rammed his Lamborghini into the back of her
Damn.
car while she was trying to drive to the police
Yeah,
for help.
I ain't gonna lie, dog. That's what I be trying to tell y'all to watch for y'all day. Feel me? You broke up with him. He literally followed you and then drove his car into you.
When she tried to
tried to
back
get in
out,
your car,
police
too?
said that he then crashed into her car head on. At this point,
Damn.
officers had arrived and ordered
Head
Pierce to
on?
the ground with guns drawn. But instead of complying, Pierce got back into his cars, locked the doors, and
And then he
took
ran
off,
them over,
striking
yeah.
a police officer in
Yeah,
the
I
knee
heard
with
that.
his vehicle as he tried to flee.
I seen
The
that,
police report specifically says he hit the officer
reading.
intentionally in an attempt to evade arrest. A police chase followed,
What is
hit the
it?
officer
He shook him in the left knee.
intentionally in an attempt to evade arrest. A police chase followed. Pierce eventually
Pierce
crashed his
crashed.
vehicle at an intersection at
Pierce started
Northwest
running.
103rd Avenue and
Let's see.
66th
Call him.
Street, but he still
Call
didn't
him.
give up. He got out of the car,
He's
took
an
off
NFL
running
player,
on
so
foot,
shit.
and when officers caught up to
probably
him,
get-
he started
get gone.
resisting, tensing his arms and fighting them as they tried to get him into handcuffs.
Damn,
The video
bro.
of this went viral on social
the
media,
fuck?
and it showed it took about
I ain't gonna lie, that's sad. I don't care about none of that. This is sad that it takes you this. Like I said, I don't count the females because that doesn't count. I'm not gonna count them. But it's still 4 grown men at the end of the day. There's no reason it takes 4 grown men to take down one man. Bro. You have to realize, like, yeah, he probably strong, bro, but you acting like he like Mark Henry or somebody, bro, or Big Show, or you know what I'm saying? He's a normal little, like, he's not like buff. He's just strong.
officers to finally get him on the ground and restrain him, which, to be honest, if you take a step back,
I mean, he
that
is
in
an
itself
NFL
is
player,
kind
bro.
of impressive.
That's not-
But honestly, this situation
well,
is
I wouldn't say
anything but
impressive.
funny. Pierce was booked into the
Yeah, I don't-
Turner
yeah, I don't know
Guilford
about
Knight
impressive,
Correctional Center and hit with a
Still.
laundry list of charges. We're talking 2 felony accounts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, with the deadly weapon being his car, a felony count of
Felony count of
aggravated
stalking?
stalking, felony
That's a
fleeing
thing?
and eluding police, felony aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer, and a misdemeanor count of
Yeah.
resisting an
I lied,
officer
battery?
without violence.
Damn.
That is
Oh.
5 felony charges for a
ain't gonna lie.
22-year-old man who was just celebrated on
Whatever he did on the police officer, whatever he just said, that's gonna be a long
national
charge. bro.
television 2 days earlier. On Sunday, Pierce appeared virtually in court from his jail cell. The judge set bond at $20,500 and
nothing,
issued
bro.
a stay-away order from Ricky Jackson. He
That
posted
ain't
bond
nothing,
and was
man.
released Sunday afternoon.
like $2.
Meanwhile, Jackson was thankfully not physically injured during the pursuit.
Why
Though
do
the
you-
emotional trauma from being stalked and rammed by a car goes
Whatever
without
that means.
saying. Now let's talk about what James Pierce is actually looking at here, because this isn't some minor situation. The charges he's facing carry serious prison time and can ruin his life. That aggravated battery on a
Wait,
law
what?
enforcement officer
Oh, he's
charge,
got
that's
yeah,
a
that's what I
first
said.
degree
That's
felony.
like 10
That alone
10 years,
carries
man.
a maximum of 30
30?
years in prison with a mandatory minimum of 5 years. The 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon are second degree felonies. Each one carries up to 15 years. The aggravated stalking charge is
Wait,
a
wait,
third
what?
degree felonies. Each one
The aggravated
one
battery
carries up to
with deadly
15
weapon?
years. The aggravated stalking
So
charge
it's like
is a third
40
degree
something.
felony with up to 5
Yeah,
years.
wing
The
stop?
fleeing and eluding police at high speed is another second degree felony. 15 years max, 3-year mandatory minimum. Even the resisting an officer
3-year
charge, which is a
mandatory.
misdemeanor,
That's another one. That's a mandatory. That means you're gonna get.
adds up to a year. When you add all of that up, we're talking about a potential
That's like 40, 50,
lifetime in
huh?
prison. Now, obviously, he's not going to get the maximum on every
Whoa,
charge.
whoa, no,
That's
that's
not
not
how
40,
the
I'm
legal
tripping.
system typically works. But even the mandatory minimums
the-
on some of these charges means we could be
You don't
looking
get the
at
mandatory
real
in all
prison
of them.
time, not just a slap on the wrist. And then there's the
He got
NFL
out,
side
though,
of
bud.
things. Even if Pierce avoids
He's
the
still-
worst of the criminal penalties, he is absolutely going to face
he can't go
discipline
through.
under the NFL's personal conduct
ain't
policy.
nothing.
Under the current policy that was put
He's
in
still
place after the
Oh, yeah, I
Ray
remember
Rice scandal in 2014, players involved in domestic violence incidents face a minimum minimum 6-game suspension for a first offense. But given the severity of these charges, 5 felonies including hitting a cop with his car, some insiders are speculating that Pierce could be facing a year-long suspension, depending on how the legal process plays out. Pierce could be facing felonies including hitting a cop with his car. Some insiders are speculating that Pierce could be facing a year-long suspension, depending on how the legal process plays out. His attorney released a statement saying that Mr. Pierce maintains his innocence and urges the public to understand that while allegations have the power to shape a narrative, that is hardly the full, complete story. The Falcons put out their own statement saying that they were aware of an incident and were in the process of gathering more information. Pretty standard corporate talk. Aware of an incident.
Have any further comment?
And we're in the process of gathering more information. Pretty standard corporate talk. But the reality is this puts the franchise in an incredibly difficult spot. Remember, this is a team that's undergoing a transition. There's a brand new head coach. The Falcons just hired Kevin Stefanski. They have a brand new general manager in Ian Cunningham and Matt Ryan as president of football operations. This new leadership group is trying to build something in Atlanta. And the very first major headline they have to deal with is their best pass rusher being arrested on 5 felonies. And remember, the Falcons gave up a 2026 first-round pick for Pierce.
So it's like, you have to realize too, if he doesn't ever play again, well, I don't know.
He's gone for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They just wasted out on a whole draft pick they could have got. Like, they could have got, if they had a first-round pick, they could have got like either a different D lineman, or they could have got like a, receiver, whatever they're missing right now, could have got that. And then, feel me?
Or forever. They gave up a premium.
But I feel like if the Falcons didn't get him, he probably wouldn't have got drafted.
Draft pick for a guy who might have played his last NFL game. And here's the thing, we've been here before. The NFL has a long
if he never plays again, and they just wasted a pick, they're not gonna get it back.
Just like this. And depending on how you look at it, the outcomes have been all over the place. The most obvious comparison is Ray Rice. Back in February of 2014, the Baltimore Ravens running back punched his then fiance Janae Palmer in an elevator at an Atlantic City hotel and knocked her unconscious. At first, this wasn't that big of a deal until TMZ released the video. Rice was suspended indefinitely and released by the Baltimore Ravens. He never played another down in the NFL. His career was done at 27 years old. Now, Rice was also coming off of a decline in production, so the talent wasn't what
That's what I'm saying, bro. It's like I feel like when players either lose their name for themselves or like lose talent, they just get into these type of scandals, bro. Either that or you feel me, like they get into situations that will make them mad, and then they get mad easily. They don't seek help about it, and then they lash out.
Used to be, but the point stands. DV ended his career. Then you have Kareem Hunt. In 2018, while he was the lead running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, TMZ released a video of Hunt shoving and kicking a woman in a Cleveland hotel hallway. The Chiefs cut him almost immediately, and the NFL placed him on the commissioner's exempt list. But here's the difference. Hunt was 23, still in his prime, and absurdly talented. The Cleveland Browns signed him just a few months later, and he went on to play multiple seasons in the league. He served an 8-game suspension and kept his career going. The talent outweighed the consequences. You can look at Greg Hardy. The man was convicted of assaulting his ex-girlfriend and still signed a 1-year, $11 million deal with the Dallas Cowboys. Tyreek Hill pleaded guilty to a domestic assault charge involving his pregnant girlfriend while in college at Oklahoma State, and has gone on to become one of the highest paid receivers in NFL history. The pattern in the NFL has consistently been, if you can play, teams will find a way to bring you back. But Pierce's situation has consistently been, if you can play, teams will find a way to bring you back. But Pierce's situation has some key differences that make it potentially worse than all of those. For one, the charges are more extensive. We're not talking about one incident in a hotel hallway. We're talking about stalking your ex-girlfriend, ramming a car into her car multiple times, then fleeing from the police, hitting a cop with a vehicle, and resisting arrest. This was a prolonged event with multiple escalating decisions. Each time Pierce had a chance to stop, he allegedly chose to make things worse. And the other factor is the video. Just like Ray Rice and Kareem Hunt, there is video in this case too. Footage of Pierce being tackled by 7 officers, fighting them as they try to arrest him. In the NFL's history with these cases, video changes everything. Remember when I said at first the Ray Rice situation wasn't seen as a big deal, even though it was a horrible thing that went down, until video was released. Once you have a visual representation of the incident available to the masses, that's when the NFL really steps up and decides to lay some punishment. Before the Ray Rice elevator footage dropped, he only got a 2-game suspension. Again, the NFL didn't take it that seriously. After the video, there was an indefinite suspension and he never played again. The court of public opinion moves fast, and when people can see what happened, it becomes almost impossible for teams in the league to look the other way. There's one more parallel worth mentioning here, and it's a more recent one. In August of 2024, Cleveland Browns rookie Michael Hall Jr. was arrested after police said he held a gun to his fiance's head and threatened to end her life. He was placed on the commissioner's exempt list and barred from practices or games until the league completed its investigation. That's essentially what happens now. The NFL puts you on ice while they figure things out, and with 5 felonies, Pierce is almost certainly looking at some form of the same treatment. The one thing that could help Pierce, and I hate even saying it like this, but it's just the reality of how the league operates, is his talent level. He put up 10.5 sacks as a rookie. He's 22 years old. If this was a below average player, his career would already be over. But because he's a budding star, there's a chance, like Kareem Hunt, that some team will eventually be willing to take the gamble. The NFL has proven time
about character
and time again that talent is the ultimate second chance card.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out for a second, because beyond the football, beyond the charges, beyond the draft capital, there's a real human being at the center of this who put her life in danger. Ricky Jackson is a 24-year-old woman who was just trying to drive to a police station for help. She had already decided that she wanted nothing to do with this man.
Hey, shout out to her too, because she continued to play. I think, or actually, I don't know.
Already blocked his number. She had already told him to leave her alone. And instead of respecting that, she was allegedly followed, approached at a red light, and had a Lamborghini rammed into her car.
I would just say, that's what I said too. If you have like a situation where like you're with somebody, even if it's a dude too, like if you're a dude and a girl stalking you, whatever, I always say always have somebody with you. Because I mean, like I said, I always told you, like females, you always gotta make sure you're with somebody. Especially if like you know he has a violent history.
Twice while trying to reach safety. That part of this story shouldn't get lost in the football conversation, because at the end of the day, this isn't just about whether James Pierce Jr. plays football again. It's about accountability. It's about the fact that warning signs existed before this man was even drafted, and the football world collectively said the talent is worth the risk. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been times in NFL history where you take a gamble on a guy that has tremendous character concerns and it ends up not being a big deal. Micah Parsons had character concerns coming out of Penn State. Randy Moss was famously passed on by the Dallas Cowboys because he had character concerns. There are times where you take a chance on a player and you hit big. When those character concerns surfaced before the draft, everyone wrote them off, hoping that this could be another situation like Micah Parsons or Randy Moss. Tennessee fans said that they never saw any issues on campus. His coach endorsed him. The Falcons say they vetted him thoroughly. Pierce himself said, "I'm a great guy and I've got a good heart." And maybe all those people genuinely believed that at the time. But after what allegedly happened this weekend, those pre-draft red flags look a whole lot different. A College Football Insider recently said about the situation that he had an incredible rookie season, and I think a lot of people felt like and hoped that some of the things that plagued him or some of his demons, maybe he was past some of those. But boy, these are troubling charges. And then he added, I don't think there's a lot of people felt. Insider recently said about the situation that plagued him or some of his demons, maybe he was past some of those, but boy, these are troubling charges. And then he added, I don't think they're surprised. James Pierce Jr. went from the NFL honors to a jail cell in less than 48 hours. He went from his mother telling the whole world about his heart of gold to catching 5 felonies. He went from being the future of the Falcons pass rush to potentially being the biggest draft bust of 2025, not because he couldn't play, but because he allegedly couldn't control himself off of the field. A hearing is scheduled for February 11th, and the legal process is just getting started. Whether Pierce ever plays in the NFL again is genuinely up in the air. What isn't up in the air is that the people who sounded the alarm before the draft were right. And for Ricky Jackson, And for Ricky Jackson, the woman who just wanted to be left alone, I hope she gets the peace and safety she deserves. Let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic.
Shout out my boy Mike, man. All right, this is we'll read a little bit of the comments and then we're gonna go to the next one. Oh, this is she was reading off the cue cards, so that she wasn't even actually saying it from the heart. Dang. All right, yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I would say that. That's kind of wild. I don't feel like anybody necessarily deserves that. I don't feel like that. That's it. I don't think that's right. All right, well, let's see the part 2. We got even worse, bro. So let's see what they got to say for themselves.
Did the league have any idea this was going on until he finally got arrested? This sounds like it was a very toxic, poisonous situation. She was in fear for her life.
It looks terrible for him. It looks terrible for the NFL. There's a lot of stuff on video as well. So you can't even sit here and say that like everything is alleged.
A few weeks ago, I made a video on James Pierce Jr., the Atlanta Falcons rookie pass rusher who went from standing on stage at NFL honors to sitting in a jail cell in 48 hours. At the time, the story was already wild. A car chase, a Lamborghini ramming into his ex-girlfriend's car, 7 cops tackling him to the ground, which, to be honest, is kind of impressive. But on a serious note, 5 felony charges. It was one of the most dramatic falls from grace we've ever seen from a rookie in a very long time, and a very sad case of a young man who had a very promising future throw it all away in a brief moment of rage. But since that video has dropped, a lot of new information has come out, and I need to be real with y'all, the stuff that's been revealed in court filings and police records over the last month paints a picture that is so much darker than what we originally knew. We're talking about Raquel Jackson telling a judge in her own words that she believes that James Pierce will end her life. The judge in
filed a petition for protecting against her. Said she was in
her own words that she believes that James Raquel Jackson telling a judge in her
court didn't intervene. She believed. Dang.
Her own words that she believes that James Pierce will end her life. We're talking about threats to put a bag over her head. We're talking about at least 7 911 calls that were made before the February arrest, going back months. And we're talking about a man who offered.
That's what I would say. If it was 7, that's crazy, bro. And they didn't like say especially because if she. What I was gonna say was she should have been with somebody. Is what I was saying. Because if there was 7 calls and she knew he was this toxic. Either she should have told the police before, like then. I don't know if she did or not, but she should have did that if she didn't. And she should have just stayed away from me and always been with people. But he offered her $200,000 to stay together. Hey, money is a dangerous thing, bro. I mean, you can see. I feel like if that was a different girl, it probably would have worked. But the girl that was there, Rika, I think her name is, she already got money, bro. She's in the NBA or WNBA, so. You know, she
ex-girlfriend $200,000 just to stay in a relationship with him. And when she said no, that's when things went from bad to worse. I mean, God, how down bad do you have to be to pay your girlfriend $200,000 for her to stay in a relationship with you? And how awful of a person do you need to be for her to say no to that? Make sure you're subscribed, because otherwise you might not see
what. I didn't think of that, y'all. I ain't even gonna lie. She really didn't want to be with this dude so much that $200K wasn't even enough, bro, to make her get back with
my videos on your feed again, and let's get to today's video.
To be fair, so
Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let's start with the legal side because there's been some notable movement over there. When we covered this story the first time, James Pierce was facing 5 felony charges: 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, aggravated stalking, fleeing and eluding the police, and aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer. That last one was the big one, a first-degree felony that carried a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and up to 30 years max. According to ESPN, the Miami-Dade state attorney has officially filed 4 charges against Pierce, 3 felonies and 1 misdemeanor. The aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer charge was dropped.
They dropped it against him. The spokesperson of the DA said they didn't believe they could prove it beyond a reasonable
TMZ reports that prosecutors said they couldn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt based on the body cam evidence. Bro, you mean to tell me that this isn't evidence enough of him assaulting a police officer? Well, that aside, the aggravated stalking charge, which was originally a felony, that's been downgraded to a misdemeanor. So what's left? James Pierce is still facing a felony. assaulting a police officer? But that aside, the aggravated stalking charge, which was originally a felony, that's been downgraded to a misdemeanor. So what's left? James Pierce is still facing a felony charge of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Remember, the deadly weapon was his car. A felony charge of fleeing and eluding the police. A felony charge of resisting an officer with violence. And that misdemeanor stalking charge. So he went from 5 felonies.
Resisting an officer without, I thought it was without violence.
To 3 felonies and a misdemeanor. His legal team can absolutely spin this as a win. 1 less felony, 1 downgrade. That's real movement in James Pierce's favor. But here's the thing, and this is what I need y'all to understand. While the charges
get rid of the 30-year one,
have gone a little lighter on paper, everything else that's come out since then has made this situation exponentially worse. Because the court filings from Rickey Jackson paint a picture of something that goes far beyond one bad Saturday morning in February. 2 days after James Pierce was arrested on February 9th, Rickey...
Hold on. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Hold on. All right, we back.
Jackson walked into a Miami-Dade County courtroom and filed a February 9th. Rickey Jackson walked into a 2 days after James Pierce was arrested on February 9th. Rickey Jackson walked into a Miami-Dade County courtroom and filed a petition for an injunction for protection against dating violence. And the things she wrote in that filing are absolutely chilling. According to ESPN, Jackson told the court that she was in fear of her life and that without the court stepping in, James Pierce will end her life. Let me say that again. A professional athlete, a woman who plays in the WNBA, who is 6'2", who is no small person by any means, felt strongly enough about the danger that she was in that she wrote in a legal document that she believed her ex-boyfriend would take her life if nobody intervened. And she didn't stop there. Jackson stated that Pierce verbally and physically abused her on more than one occasion during their relationship. She alleged that he threatened to end her life, threatened to harm her, threatened to injure her. And this one is probably the most graphic part of all, threatened to put a bag over her head. That is not a heat of the moment breakup argument, guys. Right? That is a specific, terrifying threat of violence. The court granted her request immediately. A temporary protective order was put in place, barring Pierce from having any contact with Jackson.
Okay, so he can't go within 500 feet of her home or workplace. Then he can't even go to the WNBA game, bro. Or like, say they have like an all-star game or something. Wait, but how does this work? Cause what happens if say for example, right? They this is a thing, but say they go to like a WNBA game or not WNBA game. Like say they go to like it's an all-star weekend, and she goes to all-star weekend because she's a basketball player. She's interested in it. She liked the players in it, and then he go too, but he didn't know she was there. So how would what happens if they just so happen to just be, let's say, for example, they went to the WNBA or the All-Star game and he went to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? He had to use the bathroom. He had ordered a little cheesesteak, whatever, nice little sweet tea with some fries, and he went to use the bathroom. And then she just so happened to also have to use the bathroom at the same exact time. Just coincidentally, she had to use the bathroom at the same time as him. So she went to the bathroom. But the bathroom is obviously the male and the female bathrooms aren't that far away. Probably maximum of 10 feet. So they just so happen to be 10 feet away from each other. What would happen then? Because technically, it's I don't feel like it's his fault because he just was using the bathroom. He didn't know she was there.
From coming within 500 feet of her home or workplace and from driving within 100 feet of her vehicle. He was also ordered to surrender any firearms and ammunition to the nearest police department. A hearing on whether to make the injunction permanent is scheduled for April 21st. And there's another major detail from the filing that changes the entire context of
that's 6 days before the drive too.
Happened on February 7th. Jackson revealed that in the hours before the arrest, Pierce had been trying to buy his way back into the relationship. He told her he would give her up to $75,000 just to see him and $200,000 to remain in
That's 275 bands, bro. Just to see her, I ain't gonna lie, bro. 75,000 to see somebody. Come on, dog. I don't even think y'all even to a concert. That's not even that much, bro. People literally pay $100 to go to a concert and see somebody, bro. You're paying $55,000. You feel me? And it's like the fact that, and that's why that makes me think. Like, I'm not going to try and push this against her, but I wouldn't be surprised if, I personally wouldn't be surprised if, what was I about to say? Oh, like he, like either, like this happened before where he tried to give her money to be with her and she like went with it, or maybe he just did this and that's why so much, because he thought it would work. But I just feel like she had to have made him feel like it was gonna work, you know.
Relationship.
Unless I was just like his extremely down bad moment, and that's where he's like, okay, yeah, I'm just do this.
With them. Look, I don't need to be looking into the wrong part of this video because this is a very serious situation with very serious allegations. This video is probably going to get demonetized. So if you can leave a like, Raquel Jackson makes right now, still push this video in the algorithm. But that aside, I'm looking at how much Raquel Jackson makes right now. She makes $78,000 a year. Her career earnings are $154,000.
Hey, WNBA, how y'all, like, what y'all doing, bro? That's not right. I don't mess with that. Cause I mean that's a lot of money though. Let's not get it twisted. 150 bands. She probably got I ain't gonna pocket watch, but I just feel like that's not enough. You know what I'm saying? You got NBA players. Wait, do NBA players making millions, right? Or is that just NFL? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, they make more than this. So it's like, NFL players you making millions. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no reason why NFL players should make millions of dollars and a WNBA player only gets 100,000. I feel like that's kind of messed up.
Bro, you mean to tell me that you're so awful of a human being, allegedly, that your girl would...
I mean, no, let's not get it twisted, though. Like, just because she only makes 150,000 doesn't mean she don't make more money. You know what I'm saying?
Even accept $200,000 to stay in a relationship with you? Okay, sorry, guys, I got sidetracked. And when that didn't work, according to the filing, Pierce had been sleeping in his car outside of her home.
Okay. All right. See. Where's my remote? Hold on, my light's about to turn off. Let me just plug it up to my... I don't know where my controller's at. Well, it's still on right now. Oh, it's right here. Alright. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I was before the dispute. He had been sleeping in his car outside her home, waiting for her to leave. Bro, I ain't gonna lie. I'll be honest with you. Like, all seriousness, I feel like she should have, like, moved. Or not moved. Well, yeah, like, well, I don't know. I would just like to either be with somebody or go to a different house or something. Because, to, like, sleep with her family or cousin, somebody, bro. Not, like, in the same room, but, well, honestly, low-key in the same room. Now, I wouldn't say in the same bed, but in the same room just in case, bro. Because if he's, like, trying to pay you money, sleeping outside sleeping outside in his car, outside of your house. Like, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. You gotta do something about that. You feel me? You said there was a lot of other things they may have possibly did. I'm not gonna say that he did anything, like the other such shit, because I don't know what he did or not. But I feel like if he actually did do that stuff, you shouldn't be willing to just be home alone and, wait, because I'm assuming she was home alone.
For her to leave. That morning, when she finally drove out, he followed her. And that's when the entire car chase and ramming incident unfolded. But here's the part that really puts a knot in your stomach. Jackson's filing revealed new details about what happened during the chase itself. She said Pierce didn't just ram her car, he blocked her path at a traffic light,
chased her at high speeds, left the car,
out, tried to get inside her car, and when she wouldn't open the door, he jumped on top of her vehicle. He then got back in his car and chased her at high speed, striking her car multiple times, trying to spin her out, and at one point running her completely off the road before she finally made it to the Doral Police Department. On top of all of that, Jackson...
But it's like, you have to realize, like, this dude must have really been obsessed with this girl, bro. Because this dude, you have to realize, bro, this dude makes millions of dollars, bro. And he's fiending for this girl, bro. There's so many. It's like, even if you want to say, oh, she's like famous too, whatever. There's other females in the WNBA that he could get, bro, or like, call or whatever, bro. And it's just like, come on, bro. You can't be fiending like that, bro. For me, come on. It's like, come on, bro. It's so many other females in the world, bro. You gonna find you one, bro. You don't gotta do this. You know what I mean? Allegedly. I mean, I don't know if you. Well,
filed notice with the court that she is willing to testify against Pierce if the domestic violence charges go to trial. In these kinds of cases, that's significant. Against Pierce if the domestic violence filed notice with the court that she is willing to testify against Pierce if the domestic violence charges go to trial. In these kinds of cases, that's significant. A DV case falls apart because the victim doesn't want to participate in the legal process. Rickey Jackson is saying, "I'll get on that stand." Now, when the arrest first happened in February, a lot of people, myself included, covered it like it was one explosive incident, a bad breakup that spiraled out of control on one particular day. But Michael Rothstein and Mark Raymond,
like I said, either it was just like tension that built up, like I said, the mental health thing, either it was just tension that built up and he like exploded, or he did this type of stuff a lot.
He dropped a bombshell report revealing that at least 7 911 calls had been made about Pierce in the weeks and months leading up to his arrest.
But who said it?
But Michael Rothstein and Mark Raimondi dropped a bombshell report revealing that at least 7 911 calls had been made about Pierce in the weeks and months leading up to his arrest. 7. And the names in the police report.
Well, like, you think about it too, like, if this actually did happen, they could have literally saved his career and her. You feel me? If they would have just did something about the 911 call. They could have did a little, what was it? The restraining order, whatever it's called. Could have did that. Then he would have never been able to be around her. And then this would never
acted. But the address, it was Rickey Jackson's home in Doral, Florida. This was not a one-time thing. This was a pattern. Let me walk you through the timeline because it tells a story of its own. It starts on November 24, 2025, which was the day after the Falcons played the Saints in New Orleans, just hours after an NFL game. Police responded to a domestic disturbance call where a woman said Pierce came to her home, knocked on the door repeatedly, and called a landline various times. She refused to open the door and told him to leave. He left about 20 minutes before police arrived. Here's hours before 2025, which was the day after the Falcons played the Saints in New Orleans. Just
the day after the Saints game.
Hours after an NFL game. Police responded to a domestic disturbance.
That's what I be saying. I'll be wondering what NFL players and NBA players and all will be doing after they leave games.
Call where a woman said Pierce came to her home, knocked on the door repeatedly, and called a landline various times. She refused to open the door and told him to leave. He left about 20 minutes before police arrived. The woman told Pierce owed her $70,000. 4 hours later, around 3 a.m. on November 25th, she called police again. This time, she said Pierce's own father had warned her that Pierce was planning to return to her home. Think about that. His own dad was calling ahead to warn this woman. She didn't feel safe and she left her house for the night. So he left when the police, I ain't gonna lie, she should have been left, first of all. Especially after as soon as he left, she should have left. But he left, like he was banging her door, whatever, trying to get in there, calling on like all these numbers and whatever. And then he left before the police could get there. And then his own father told her that he was coming back. Then we jump to
so that means he must have went and told his dad.
January 13th. Police responded to another domestic disturbance, and this time they actually encountered Pierce in front of the residence and told him to leave with his car and belongings and that he was advised not to return. Police literally told this man, "Don't come back here." And guess what? He ended up Pierce in front of the residence and told him another domestic disturbance, and this time they actually jumped to January in front of the residence and told him to leave with his car and belongings and that he was advised not to return. Police literally told this man, "Don't come back here." And guess what? He ended up coming back. Jackson's court filing also revealed a separate incident in Davie, Florida, which is a different story where she says things turned physical. While at a gas station, Jackson alleges that Pierce snatched her phone out of her hand, pulled her hair, and took her personal belongings. She said that after this attack, she told Pierce she no longer wanted to be in a relationship with him. He allegedly refused to accept it and said what she described as a campaign of threats and physical abuse. Davie police actually spoke to both of them about this incident. Pierce told police that there was no physical altercation and said Jackson had accused him of thinking she was cheating and that she'd offered to let him search her phones. An Uber driver who was present for at least part of the incident told police he only saw a verbal argument. Police didn't see bruising or injury on Jackson and determined there wasn't enough evidence of a crime at that time, so no arrest was made. Then comes January 28th. 2 calls in one day. The first was a daytime call where police responded in emergency mode to a reported burglary in progress, with Pierce listed as the subject. Jackson told police that she saw Pierce leaving before they arrived. Later that night, the woman at the residence identified Pierce as the subject of a domestic disturbance complaint. She said she was in fear after the door to her home had been damaged. Pierce was gone when police got there. She left for a hotel to avoid further incidents. On February 1st, another domestic disturbance call. The police report was heavily...
All right. I ain't gonna lie, dude. Come on, fam. It's like you just threw your whole life away for this, bro. For a female. You feel me? I got a bump right on my tattoo, but it's itching, man. But yeah, bro, you just threw your life away, bro. Well, possibly.
Redacted, so we don't know exactly what happened. But on February 2nd, police came back and a private security guard told officers that Pierce had been stalking his client and had been spotted at the home on multiple occasions over the past several...
The security guard of who?
Days. Jackson had private security. That's how scared she was. And here's the part that ties it all together in the most haunting way. 3 days after the February 2nd police visit, James Pierce Jr. flew to San Francisco for NFL honors. He stood on stage visit. James put it all together in the most haunting way. 3 days after the February 2nd police visit, James Pierce Jr. flew to San Francisco for NFL honors. He stood on stage. His mom said this about him.
James has a heart of gold, deep love for family and friends.
I kind of feel like his body language, like he's not showing any emotion too. Like he probably thinking about what he did if he did do it. Like what he did, bro.
And a true resilience in the face of doubt.
Because I didn't even realize, like, in the NFL honors, like, because I didn't know this situation happened when I was watching it.
He flew back to Florida, where he did everything that we covered in part 1. 7 911 calls, police telling him to stay away, a security guard calling him a stalker, a damaged front door, her fleeing to hotels, and nobody arrested James Pierce Jr. until he rammed a Lamborghini into her car in front of a police station. Let that sink in, guys. So where does this put the Atlanta Falcons? I know it may seem a little insensitive to focus on the football aspect of all this, but we are a football channel after all, so bear with me. To put it bluntly, the Falcons are already planning for life without James Pierce Jr. The team hasn't said much publicly beyond their original gathering more information statement. The Falcons declined to comment on the latest ESPN reports, but their actions are speaking louder than any press conference could. They just signed Samson Ebukam in free agency, a former Colts and 49ers pass rusher who has ties to their defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich from their time together with the New York Jets. This is not a coincidence. That's the Falcons quietly trying to fill the massive hole that Pierce's absence is going to leave. And think about how bad this is for the franchise from a roster building perspective. Heading into the offseason, the only edge rushers the Falcons had under contract were Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. That's it. Leonard Floyd, D'Angelo Malone, Khalid Kareem, that's it. The rest of their edge rushers are all free agents. So now you're looking at a team that went from second to last in sacks in 2024, built a franchise record 57 sack defense in 2025, largely on the back of Pierce's 10.5 sacks, and now might have to start over without him. Remember, the Falcons don't even have a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL draft. They gave that to the Rams to go get Pierce. According to Spotrac, Pierce has 3 years and
I just never understood why people would trade before they even... What's it called? Like, why would you trade your player before the draft even started? Like, I mean, not like before it started, but it's like the season wasn't even over for the regular season, and you already traded before it's even 2026.
$7 million fully guaranteed left on his rookie contract, plus a 5th-year option for 2029. But a suspension would automatically void that salary guarantee. So the financial hit can be managed, but the football impact? You can't just replace 10.5 sacks from a 22-year-old edge rusher. That kind of production doesn't grow on trees. Under the league's current DV policy, the minimum suspension is 6 games. But given the severity of everything we've learned, the pattern of behavior, the multiple police police contracts, the threats to end his ex-girlfriend's life,
it really depends on where the Falcons get.
Court filings. There are insiders who believe a year-long suspension or even an indefinite ban from the league is on the table. The NFL generally waits for the legal process to play out before handing down discipline, but there's also the commissioner's exempt list, which could keep Pierce off the field immediately if the league decides to use it. And there's another wrinkle here that could create even more problems for the Falcons as an organization. One source from another team told Pro Football Talk that the Falcons and Pierce could face scrutiny if the NFL believes any of the prior incidents, the ones going back to November, required notification of the league's office under the personal conduct policy. To translate, if the Falcons knew about any of the earlier police visits and they didn't report them, the franchise itself could be in trouble with the league. But at the same time, the previous regime that drafted James Pierce and could have known about this is no longer there. They just brought in a brand new general manager in Ian Cunningham. They have a brand new president of operations in Matt Ryan and a brand new head coach in Kevin Stefanski. But you guys know, I've said this multiple times on this channel, whenever a new regime comes in that has no ties to the draft picks that the previous regime had, and if those draft picks aren't bona fide superstars, they have no attachment to these draft picks, they won't mind moving on from them. They don't need to look like geniuses for drafting James Pierce. James Pierce wasn't their idea. So let's take a look at where we go from here.
So
there are several things coming up that will determine the rest of James Pierce Jr.'s life, and I don't say that as an exaggeration. On April 21st, there's a hearing to determine whether the protective order against Pierce becomes permanent. If it does, that sends a strong signal to the NFL about the credibility of the allegations and could accelerate whatever discipline the league decides to hand down. On the criminal side, he's now facing 3 felonies and a misdemeanor. The aggravated battery with the deadly weapon charge is the most serious one remaining. That's a second-degree felony carrying up to 15 years. The fleeing and eluding charge is also a second-degree felony with up to 15 years. The deadly weapon charge is the most serious one remaining. That's a second-degree felony carrying up to 15 years. The fleeing and eluding charge is also a second-degree felony with up to 15 years and a 3-year mandatory minimum. Resisting with violence is a third-degree felony with up to 5 years. Even the
I feel like honestly that resisting with violence is going to get taken down. Because it's not necessarily violence if he didn't like, or I mean, I don't know.
A stalking charge carries up to a year.
If that other one that was 30 years, that definitely
year. His attorneys are still maintaining his innocence and saying the full story hasn't been told. But the full story defense gets harder and harder to sell when the evidence keeps piling up. 7 911 calls, a restraining order granted by a judge, a woman who's willing to take the stand. And here's what makes Jackson's willingness to testify so important. The conviction rate for DV cases involving NFL players is notoriously low. Research shows that between 2000 and 2019, only about 18% of NFL players arrested for violence against women were actually convicted. Having a cooperative victim who is willing to testify dramatically changes those odds. Let me go back to the parallels I talked about in part 1. Remember how we compare this to Ray Rice and Kareem Hunt? Those comparisons still hold up, but the new details actually push Pierce's situation closer to the Ray Rice end of the spectrum. Rice's career ended because of one incident caught on camera. Pierce's situation involves an alleged pattern of abuse spanning months, multiple police contracts, death threats documented in court filings.
It's like, no, I don't know. I feel like, I'm not going to say the Falcons knew something, but I just feel like there's no way they couldn't tell. Like maybe he was off, because it's like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he was still performing.
Woman who is actively cooperating with prosecutors. If the NFL was embarrassed enough by Ray Rice to completely overhaul its DV policy, how can they look at everything that's come out about James Pierce and hand him anything less than a massive punishment? The talent argument is still there. Pierce is 22 years old and just put up 10.5 sacks as a rookie. In the NFL's history, talent has always been the get out of jail free card. Kareem Hunt came back. Tyreek Hill came back. Greg Hardy's always been the get out of jail free. Didn't involve court back. Tyreek Hill came back. Greg Hardy came back. But those situations didn't involve court filings where the victim says she believed the player will end her life. That's a different level of documented severity that even the most talent desperate franchise would have a hard time ignoring. When I made my first video about this, I said that the warning signs were there during the pre-draft process and teams chose to ignore them. A month later, the picture is so much clearer and so much worse. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. According to the court file, and so much worse. This was months of alleged stalking, harassment, threats, and abuse that escalated step by step until it ended with a car chase and 5 cops tackling a man on a street corner. Every time police showed up, they told Pierce to leave, and every time, according to the reports, he came back. Every time Jackson tried to create distance by blocking his number, hiring security, leaving her own home to sleep in hotels, he allegedly found a way to close that distance. And on the morning of February 7th, when he ran out of every other option, he allegedly used a Lamborghini to try to stop her from reaching safety. Rickea Jackson deserves to live her life without fear. She is 24 years old.
I ain't gonna lie, I feel bad because I feel like even if he does end up like getting arrested for all that stuff, she's still probably be in fear, bro.
She is one of the best young players in the WNBA.
She might not want to get in a relationship again.
And she shouldn't have to tell a judge that she's afraid that someone will end her life. Whatever happens in the court and whatever the NFL decides to do, that has to be the part of this story that matters the most. As for Pierce, I hate to say this, I've covered so many stories like this, and it genuinely breaks my heart. A young man that has God-given talent that worked his ass off to get to this position, to potentially make tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars playing a sport that we all love, just threw it away in a fit of rage, in multiple fits of rage. It hurts every time I cover a young man ruining his life by doing something incredibly stupid. It hurt when Henry Ruggs did it, and it certainly hurts when James Pierce Jr. did it. I'm going to be covering this story, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to get updates on this story. Aside from that, I'm your boy.
Shout out to Mike, dude, bro. We finna just, we look at some of the comments. The more someone is willing to pay to keep you together, the faster you should run. That's fair. Info players. I'm not reading that. That's why. He's wrong. Okay. I believe you can make 78K a year. Alright, pro security. This one issue is serious. It's actually not 70K a year. I don't know where you got that from. But I just feel like, bro, y'all can't pocket watch, you know what I'm saying? Because she still probably makes more money. Like, I guarantee you she makes more than that. She makes at least about 300K. That's just like 300K is pretty nice. But anyways, besides, you know what I'm saying? We're not a channel that's going to pocket watch, bro. For me, saying I don't really care. I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? She balling though. She hooping. That's all that matter, bro. For me, always get more money. You gotta remember that, bro. For me, but let's do a prayer, man. Because that means, realistically, like all the WN players probably make the same amount of money as hers. But let's do a prayer, man, y'all. Let's get it. Lord, just protect Rickea Jackson, help her be able to get through this and to trust in you. And then whenever she does end up finding the one for her, to that person take care of her and make her feel safe, make her feel wanted. Help all the females that are out there that have to deal with this in general, even if it's not necessarily comes to light or someone gets arrested for it. Bring them peace, help them be able to find look at the warning signs and find the right person, and not force themselves in relationships and sexual things either with people that aren't really for them. We also pray for James Pierce Jr. He did do a lot, or may have possibly did a lot, but you are the only one that really knows his true intentions and what all he actually did and why he did what he did. I do kind of wish that he could have got some help first, if he did actually end up doing all this. But I know it's all in your plan, and it'll all come to light when the time is right. But I just do want to pray for him. I hope that him and his family can. Honestly, I don't know if they will be able to look past this, but just help them be able to, be forgiven. Hopefully, Rickea Jackson can forgive him. They're not saying that she has to get back with him, because I don't think that's what she should do. But she can at least, forgive him, and just like you forgive us, and just how you forgave him if he actually did do this stuff. But we love you, Lord. We're nothing without you. Just keep us safe. Help us make good decisions. Keep chasing our dreams. For me, it's you too. But for whoever's watching, chase their dreams. And overall, just help us stay safe and make good decisions and turn before it's too late. We love you, Lord. We're nothing without you. Just tell me, we love you. Just tell me anything. I love y'all, man. Jesus loves y'all. Y'all stay safe with good decisions. Prayers to Rickea Jackson, James Pierce. Hopefully, y'all can. I wouldn't even say get it. Yeah, I just say hopefully y'all could find peace. That's really all I gotta say. I love y'all, man. More videos today.